All right. This is Dave Villa, and if you notice, this is not David Cribbs next to me. So we are live on Auto Dealer Live. Our ears are hotter than a 4th of July firecracker. I don't know about Sarah's, but there you go.
We fixed Sarah's.
It's they do that to me. Did you do it on purpose? You can turn it up a little bit, but they do that to me all the time, Sarah. They don't tell me until it's live. So basically, the reaction to my face, whenever we start off, it's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then
they told me.
They did tell you.
I got to know.
Well, that's how they do it. But I do sign their paycheck, so we'll see if we can mess around with them a little bit. So I'm here with Sarah Hoagie. Sarah is the owner of Elite BDC, and Sarah, thanks so much for joining me here in studio. You were here you've been here for about 30 minutes. I know you were training at a dealership today. I think you were locally, right?
This week, I've been with Furman Automotive Group. They have a huge, what I consider to be probably the largest BDC I have been in.
Right.
In automotive, they usually have 50 people. It's a little bit different now with COVID, but what a huge BDC. Great staff, great people. So I've been here since Tuesday, and isn't that nice? You're literally 15 minutes away.
We are. So you were with Furman then, because we obviously know Brad, and I'm sure you met Brad and know Brad. So we were. You were with the Furman, the centralized, the BDC.
Both. I was bouncing all over the place wherever they needed me.
Well, very cool, very cool. So obviously you do a great job. We've heard that through the years that we've been associated with you, and I know you've been on the show a couple of times. But welcome officially. She was here, guys. If you're watching, make sure you share the show. Today's going to be a really cool topic. We're obviously going to discuss BDC. And but again, Sarah being local today, when we started talking about the show and it kind of worked out, she said, I'm going to be in town, and so awesome, so happy that you could stop by and join us in studio.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
Well, it's our pleasure, and today we're going to be joined in just a few minutes here for the segment by Josh Mitchell. I know you're familiar with Josh, and Josh is with the Hubert Vester Auto Group, and we're also going to be bringing Joshua Wright on. Josh is two Joshes. Joshua is sales manager, Allen Chevrolet Cadillac, former BDC director, made the leap to sales manager. And then Pete Marshall. Pete is, and it's interesting because if you see his title as F&I manager, like, why is he on this show? Well, he was just formerly the internet director for the Riverside Ford store. So we have a couple of ex-BDC moving on. But, it's funny, Sarah, my experience, when you have someone that spent a lot of time running a BDC in a store level, when they get to another position, they're very particular about their BDC. They never forget what they learned.
They are.
Do you notice
Task-oriented, regimented, type A, get things done. You'll see they have a task list right in front of them.
Right.
They know exactly what needs to be done, and they execute really well.
And I think the reason people, I remember having this discussion, BDC discussion. We used to call it the BDC boardroom. I remember back in the day, and we had guys like Alan Ram and Tom Stuker and Sean Bradley, and there was a lot of some animosity and disagreements there. But when this several years ago really started kind of coming to the forefront, people in the dealership level, it was to BDC or not. It was like, do I do it? Do I not? And I remember when the OEM got behind it, it's interesting. They get behind, and we love the OEM out there, right? But they get behind things sometimes that they don't understand. So they're like, they said, I remember this. They said, every store, I remember GM did this. Every store has to have a BDC, right?
Oh, right.
But what that looks like, we don't know. Figure it out yourself.
And then make sure that it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Right.
It's beautiful. Still beautiful.
Is the argument out there? I don't want to get too much into this discussion until we get the crew on. But is there as much of an argument today of cradle to grave versus not? Does that really still exist? Is that, or is it kind of maybe evolved where it's understood that maybe one's better than the other? What's your experience on that discussion today?
I feel like you just described my entire week this week. Should we BDC? Should we not BDC? What are we doing? What should we be doing? And I think the best part is you can do either one. However, you better be prepared that if you're not going to BDC, that you're going to have to do everything that they do. And there is a large growing pain with that. And the onboarding is a long, lengthy process.
That's something I thought of a lot, and I know we don't have enough time. we do. You would think that we do these shows every week. I would maybe string some together, and maybe I should, but we run out of time. And but I look at this and I always wonder, like for instance, why do dealers, and I say dealers, I mean sometimes the owners or maybe even the manufacturers to some degree, or the local tier rep for the manufacturer, or sales managers. Really, if you get down below that, I think they don't really agree with maybe someone that would think the way I'm getting ready to describe. But some of the owners, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Meaning, if I'm making money, right, don't mess with it. It doesn't mean that it's running as efficient as it can. So my question has always been, why the separation between sales and BDC? Like why does it have to be either or? Like you have this layer. Why can't the BDC person, someone like you, obviously, that's sharp, that is sharper than any salesperson that I've ever met? I mean, why can't someone like you take, right, this concept from cradle to grave? And let me give you an example before you answer it. Like, if my sales guy's here, right, we're over the phone. We deal with dealers across the nation. They're in inside sales. So for instance, if a dealer come walking through the door, and knocked on the door today and walked in and went, "Hey, how are you? I'm a GM of ABC Ford, and I'd like to talk to you about marketing." My reps are not going to go, "Well, you know what? Can you do me a favor and walk outside and call me?" They're going to sit down and talk to them. So my question has always been, why this gulf between, like somebody handling one way versus the other? Like, why can't a BDC or a salesperson function under the concept of dealing with a customer via internet and in person?
They can. Here's the thing. Some deals take 3 hours. Sometimes you have a customer that wants to test drive 3 different cars. Now you're away from your desk. You have emails, you have calls coming in. What's going on with them? So the rest of those customers are all sitting there while you're on a 3-hour journey with a customer, and time kills deals. So if you're not getting back to those customers efficiently, text, email, call, Facebook Messenger, however they choose to desire to communicate with you, if you're not getting back in touch with them, somebody else is.
That's good. So are you advocating, and I think our guests are on, right? Do we have everybody ready? Do we have some Skyped on too?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Everybody Skyped on?
Yes, sir.
Whoa, come on, Mike, Ezra, whoever did it. Man, let me tell you guys. Man, I mean, is it like review time? Are you guys coming up for like reviews or something like that? Is that what's happening? No? Okay. So, hey, listen, if you're watching the show, we want to welcome you. If you're watching live on Instagram, live on Twitter, watching live on Facebook, and live on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you share the show if you're on one of the platforms that you can share the video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So make sure you subscribe, and thank you for listening. Hey, if you want to see what we look like and want to see kind of what we're doing here, you can catch us on one of the visual platforms as well. And so without further ado, let's bring on our guest. And Sarah, I want to encourage you. Obviously, I know that you're used to being a guest on the show. So not only are you a guest, but you are my co-host for this segment. So I want to encourage you to interrupt me, just muscle your way in and ask questions. Absolutely. Just don't push too hard. I'll fall over.
No hand sanitizer.
No, we have some around. We have like giant ones here. So my wife is in charge of that. She shops at like Costco and Sam's, so they're like, everything's big. But Josh Mitchell. Hey, this is David Villa, the CEO here at IPD. There's a commercial on, guys. Okay, there you go. Josh Mitchell, BDC Director, Hubert Vester Automotive. We have Joshua Wright. He's a former BDC Director, so you never leave it once you're there, man. Once you go BDC, you never go back. But now he's a sales manager at Allen Chevrolet Cadillac. And then we have another former, come on, what's up with you, former Internet Director, but now Finance Director, Riverside Ford, Pete Marshall. Got to know Pete recently. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Look at who's here. Man, you guys have a pro in the house.
Hello.
You know what I'm going to let you do? I'm going to let you pick one of these guys to you can say something, and then maybe you can launch. Give him a hard question. I want you to stump. Yeah, I want to see Josh Mitchell stumped.
I want to make you sweat. I'm going to make you sweat. Josh Mitchell, question. Same thing for me. Same thing that's been asked of me a lot, especially since COVID. What do you think is best? What are we going to do? Are we going to go from BDC agents? Or are we going to go cradle to grave? What do you think, Josh? Hit me up.
I think with going through COVID, I think you found that your BDC was more important than you actually thought it was, because we were able to pivot really quick. I know a lot of people in the industry who got to take their phone and go work from home, which your salesperson typically can't do that. And so I feel that a lot of dealerships really started to sweat when They had nobody to be able to answer leads because they've furloughed half of their employees.
Yes. Yes.
And so now we have this issue. So now how are we going to man this? And they didn't have a BDC to lean on, and they felt lost. And so I think we became more important during this time because we can pivot so quickly, especially with a good BDC manager director in the seat. We can figure out how to navigate through this, and I think we became more important.
You know, I want to.
I love it.
I want to give him
answer.
another question. I want to, and then we'll kick it to the other guys, and they can weigh in. But Josh, just kind of going back to you. You said it, and it was actually the question I was going to bring up to begin with. You know, I talked to a dealership, this mini, but one dealership up in Rochester, New York. Obviously, they were.
Ooh.
Yeah, they were.
I know who you're talking to.
Do
It's
you?
my hometown.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
I talked.
I know who the dealer is.
It did, absolutely. You know, and by the way, you know, I'll say his name, Greg Stahl.
Oh, I know Greg.
You know Greg?
Yes.
Okay, so Greg has done a couple of Facebook campaigns with us, and he was telling me, and they're big stores. I mean, one of their stores we worked with, Bob Johnson Chevy, that was doing about 600 cars a month, so they're a pretty good sized store. And he said, he told me in April, he said that they furloughed or they got rid of their BDC, and he said, quote, Josh, my general managers are handling the internet leads. He said, he said, they are handling the internet leads. So what you just said, you know, it's either I think that, you know, they maybe tried it one way by furloughing or maybe cutting out what they maybe felt, and I'm not saying Greg did this or because of this, but many cut out what they felt like wasn't necessarily the most important. But I bet you quickly found out that it was the very important. Because
I think, you know what I noticed? I think everyone's like, I can do that job. That job's really easy.
Yeah.
Getting an appointment is really easy. I mean, I had a dealer recently tell me that BDC is just secretaries. I said, if they're secretaries, why do you pay them on sold cars?
yeah.
I'm just curious.
Well, I'm
Why
not pretty.
pay them
I'm
on
pretty sure that
deliveries
Greg
if
doesn't
they're
think
just
that. Though.
secretaries. So everyone thinks that job's really, really easy to sell an appointment. In my opinion, is you're selling the whole dealership. You're selling value propositions. You're talking about the car. Hopefully, you're certified to sell the car. You're talking about everything. Why buy from us? The whole package. Not only that, but if you're multiple franchises and you're full customer service. Instead of just focusing on that one, if you're cradle to grave, you're normally focused just on that sale, that one store that you work for. When you're BDC, you want to cross-sell.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, in Pete, let's go to, or I'm sorry, Joshua. We'll go to Joshua Wright really quick. Joshua, based on what we're talking about here, you know, I'm not really sure that anybody that did that doesn't think that the BDC is very important now. And so it isn't.
Until they have to do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh.
Well, and let me say this, and Sarah might initially disagree with me until I get to the end of my sentence, but I think it actually is an easy job, but it's just not a job that everybody, listen, I mean, making a call in general is not necessarily a hard thing, but sales is hard. So let's just say you know how to sell. Okay, if you know how to sell, and then you can sell face to face, you can sell over the phone, you can do the BDC job. But I mean, it's not that it's a hard job; it's a job that some people aren't willing to do. And I've been around the car business for a long time, and I remember way back before there was a BDC. There was a lot of car guys and gals that didn't like to work leads, you know. And so as a
I'm
marketer,
the same age, by the way. There's no BDC when I started.
yeah. And as a marketer, guess what? I sold products to many a dealer that I said, hey, you had like 300 people respond, and they go, yeah, but we didn't really sell any cars. Come to find out, they just weren't worked. Nobody worked the leads, and so those same individuals. If you know, they may just not want to do it, and so therefore it's a very important job. Josh Wright, let's go to you, man. What do you think about this?
I agree 100%, Dave. You know, if COVID has taught us anything, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if you're like most dealerships, we had a huge influx in the number of leads. The connection ratio was through the roof. We were talking to a lot of people, and with that, what we found was, initially, just so you know, I was brought in the middle of all this to build a BDC. So I'm literally in the middle. I built a BDC in the middle of this COVID pandemic, which was absolutely crazy and stressful at the same time. But what happened was we had to put the salespeople in rotation as a temporary Band-Aid before we got a BDC. And so what we found was that, number one, the salespeople now have a new appreciation for the BDC because they know what it's like
My
to get
personal assistant.
Yeah, exactly. So not only do they see that aspect of things, you know, because I have a BDC background and now I'm a sales manager, I tend to treat my BD agents more like salespeople than just secretaries, as you say,
Empathy.
Sarah. Not what you say, but some say. And so I think that's so important that we embrace the BD agent. I coach them just like salespeople. I tell them exactly what to say. We're in an area of information. We're in an age of information, and part of the virtual showroom is making sure that if a customer wants a lease quote, we give them a lease quote based on their expectations, based on their qualifications.
Right.
Digital retailing's here. It's already out there. Digital retailing.
But isn't Sarah? Isn't that? I mean, seriously, isn't that seriously coming down? I mean, obviously there's processes that need to be put in place,
right?
But really, doesn't it come down to the people that have been forward thinkers since the beginning of time? Do what it takes. They service the customer the way they need to service the customer, and then what that means is what that means.
That's right. Right. So, I mean, you are going to buy from someone who takes care of you, and I laugh. I mean, there's certain things. I mean, I was going through value propositions this week. If you don't have a good value proposition package in this day and age, like look at Sears, look at JCPenney's, look at all these retailers who are closing, they're going bankrupt. If you don't have a good value proposition, where are you going to be? Where are you going to be 100 years from now?
Yeah. Yeah, true, 100%. And so let's move on. Let's get Pete Marshall, man, into this discussion. Pete, you were on the show not too long ago, and I know you guys had a really good month. You guys were, we're seeing like really unique things because there's a pent up, demand out there. I think a lot of dealerships that are really doing things the right way are really reaching out. They're finding that customers are ready to buy. So how important is your BDC, right now, your internet department in your dealership today, and what does it look like, and where do you think that a lot of dealers maybe missed it? And by the way, one other thing I want you to touch on, and I want you to come back to this too. Sure. All the unemployment out there, is it time that we actually look outside of the car person, so to speak, and maybe look into other industries that are unemployed but that are hungry right now, and see if we can bring some outside individuals into the BDC?
Oh, we need some talent.
Pete?
David, that's a great topic right there that you just pointed on. And we actually had a school teacher, Ronnie Maple, who was a teacher and a basketball coach for 20 years, came into the car business actually about a year ago. He wanted to do both, and we kind of turned him down. But once schools let him out, he actually came in here. His second month in the car business, he ended up delivering 27 cars. The guy was
strong,
completely untouchable.
Is that the guy you just posted about the other day?
Yeah, on LinkedIn, and I put him on Facebook. And there's another girl that I like to give credit to, Kim Sees, who is actually works for Audi in Miami. I noticed that.
I saw both of those on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome.
Receptionist to salesman, delivered 29 cars in May. I mean, that's absolutely strong.
So listen to this there. So Pete promoted this the other day on LinkedIn. A former school teacher. Check this out. 27 cars.
27 cars.
And then Kim 29 cars. And these are two individuals going outside looking in. I mean, I think that they're
educators.
They're
educating the customer. They're going through. Oh, I love when educators come into the industry, and I have a lot of people that are educators. And unfortunately, this is just my opinion. They don't get paid enough when they first come out of college. When they first come out and they realize what they're going to be getting paid.
I guarantee you, the guy that sold 27 cars, when he saw that check, he's like, teaching
I think
what?
I'm good.
He's like,
I think I'm good
right
now.
I'm not teaching anymore.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's not. He obviously is necessarily not motivated by money, Pete, if you got into teaching. But
but he's still educating. He's still educating the customer.
Absolutely is. Absolutely is. That's strong though. Sarah. So, kind of getting back to Josh. I mean, what maybe delve into it a little further as we have another 10 minutes or so. What do you think? What else do you think is real important? Like right now, you're teaching this group. I mean, again, they've heard what they need to hear about the BDC if it were just, going over some of the same regurgitated things. But, what I've always liked about you and in what you teach is that you're on the front lines and you're looking at it from a now perspective. So talk a little bit about that and maybe bring the crew back into for round two, on questioning.
So this is just my perspective with BDC in general. You can do either one. You can do cradle to grave. You can do BDC. I've seen success in both. I've seen failures in both. I've seen everyone. And maybe I'm wrong here. I see a really, really strong, successful May. So everyone's like, you know what? We got rid of our BDC. We got rid of them, and we had a really strong May. Now you tell me if I'm wrong here. Okay, you had a really strong May. Everyone got their stimulus check. Okay?
Right.
everyone got a deferred payment until July. Oh, that's funny. Isn't that when the unemployment and stimulus kind of run out all at the same time? They couldn't buy a car for 6 weeks. They had time to now research. So now everyone that I know of had a strong May.
Right.
So I think everyone had a strong May. And I said, you guys, this is my opinion. I see it coming in June. I see, okay, now the ages of cars they're going to age. The lease programs aren't going to be as strong. And now I'm seeing a weak June. So that's what I'm seeing. This is the other thing I realized. Dealers said, we're going to furlough our BDC. We're going to furlough them. And then they said, oh my gosh, I have no one to answer the phones. What am I going to do? Well, I have an outsourced BDC. I've never been busier ever in my life because they said, you know what? Our calls have to be handled somewhere. We are not good at this.
Yeah.
We're not good at this. And now I'm busier than ever.
We're asked, we have a BDC here for a couple of our products.
Oh,
and
you do?
We're asked all the time about, constantly can we handle, leads and so forth. I mean, because the deal is, it's dealerships. I think they've struggled with it. I had a dealer. Josh, I'm gonna go to you on this and get your comment.
I love other opinions.
I had I won't mention names on this because it would be extremely embarrassing. But he's a good friend of mine, and he's an executive 3 down the rung for Group 1 Automotive. And so he's responsible for over 100 stores. And he was responsible from the CEO of Group 1 himself to put a BDC together, a 100-person BDC, Josh, for Group 1. This is about a year and a half ago. And he called me and said, and let's keep in mind, we're doing mail and some other things with him, and our BDC was setting appointments per dealer. He calls me up and asks me, he said, hey, buddy, can you do me a favor? Can you send me your manuals? Can you send me any resources you have for your BDC? I'm talking a publicly traded company, is asking me for help, with a BDC that's setting appointments for mail. Josh, does that surprise you, first of all, that someone at that level was asking me? And I said, why don't you just let us do it for you? He said, I'd get fired on the spot. He said, I was asked to put it together, but I need help. So is that indicative, Josh, of is that, did they just tag the wrong guy? I mean, because the guy makes a lot of money, he's a good car guy, does that mean he knows how to put a BDC together, Josh?
I mean, I think putting together a BDC is a huge task. It is a huge task, and I think a lot of people take it too lightly.
Hey, Josh, how long do you think it takes? How long do you think it takes to get a BDC up and running in-house?
Fully up and running, I think, with hiring, putting together the process, getting everybody trained to go. I mean, you're probably in a 90-day cycle.
I love it. That's a minimum for me.
Really,
now, what do you think about Cradle to Grave? How long does it take Cradle to Grave to get them going?
Forever. I don't know that answer. I don't know that answer. I mean, I think that's a very tough thing because you're fighting both things. You're teaching people how they answer the phones, how they answer leads, when to follow up, how to follow up,
use the CRM,
and how to use the CRM and put a note in the CRM.
Amen.
And then you're actually telling them how to learn about product and actually selling the car. It's a whole different ball game to have that. So it's very difficult to set up a BDC, and I think a lot of people think it's you buy some desks, you buy some phones, you buy some computers, you flip the lights on, and everything should be good to go. And I've had some difficult conversations with some people across the country. Like, it ain't that easy. Like, I've put a full arsenal of training material. I just hired on 2 new people here, and I'm doing a month-long training with them.
How did you find going right now, I'm noticing in order for me to find decent talent, it's like 50 to 100 applicants for one hire. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. I probably got about 250 to 300 applicants, and about 3 of them were worth having a conversation.
See?
Luckily,
I know.
Luckily, 2 of them are the ones that I hired, but yeah,
Josh,
like
Josh, you just gave me an idea on why. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want you to keep going. So you and Sarah just gave me an idea on why I probably would give up. I mean, so wait a second. Is 60? What did you say just now about the number of people?
It's about
ratio 60 to 1.
Yes.
Okay, so Josh, is that one of the reasons probably that we
right now it is.
Is
right
that
now because people are like, I could be staying home.
But is that one of the reasons though that dealers might settle for less than the best? Meaning, They're just like, you know what? I don't want to do all these interviews. I don't want to go through all of this crap. You know, I mean, does that have? Because I mean, I'm trying to get to the bottom, and let's bring Josh Wright into it. I mean, and I know you guys don't have the answer, the crystal ball for everyone, but I'm trying to figure out why dealers have such a hard time. You know, is it that there's just so much profit out there that, it's like I'm really not in a place where I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I could be better, but we're leaving business on the table.
That's right.
And, there's a few that are really doing it right. And when you look at what they're doing, I mean, they're just kicking everyone's tail. And what do you think about that, Josh Wright?
No, I agree 100%. And when I hired, I ran into the same issues trying to find good talent. My rate was, I think I got about 85 or 90 resumes total. And I work a little bit differently. Actually, I was coached by Jonathan Dawson with a needle in the haystack kind of ideology to hiring. So I actually asked them to send me a voicemail. So I set up a Google Voice line that just goes straight to voicemail. And I give them a scenario with a name and a vehicle. And I literally tell them, leave me a voicemail like you're replying to this customer. There's no right or wrong answer. What I'm looking for is tones, inflections, your confidence on the phone, things like that. And so out of the 90 people that submitted resumes, only 10 of them actually completed that. I brought 8 of them in for actual in-person interviews and hired 3. None of them had any automotive experience whatsoever. As a matter of fact, my top person right now was a former bartender that just has been hustling for the last 7 years. And she's been putting 6 to 8 people in my showroom every single day since she.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
They're good with people.
That's it. I mean, that's I think that might be some of the issues. We have a Sacred Cow or someone that sells 30 cars a month or what have you, or somebody that I remember Alan Ram, God bless him. He would argue, especially him and Sean. They go back and forth, and he'd say, "Why can't a dealership monitor, like managers monitor?" And then of course the excuse would be, well, they're busy, they can't monitor the calls. He's like, how are you too busy to monitor and to know what's going on? And so it just he was just a big proponent of not adding this extra layer, but training people to do possibly all of it. And I guess it might be a perfect time to really do that. It was because this was really disrupted personnel wise. I mean, the business is there, but the personnel was certainly disrupted. And there's dealerships right now that haven't brought back staff. I mean, would this
they haven't.
What do you think about that?
So I think you can do either one. And I think it depends on what your store does. I find that there's an issue.
Right? Just do one or the other.
Yeah, do one or the other. But there's an issue if you're a negotiating dealership because that takes a long time. If you're one price, it's kind of like this is what the price is.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you're one price, it kind of makes
Sarah,
it
can
easier.
I ask you though? Is it though? I know the negotiating we focus on a lot because that's like the car business. That's the pizzazz right of it, right? But isn't it, to me, I think that a lot of I'm still going back to like even when we call dealerships or you call dealers and do a mystery shopping call, they just mishandle the call together. Like it's not even like the negotiating and how many leads are just being missed. And people are being missed.
I mystery shop every day.
Yeah.
I mystery shop every day, and it's amazing. People give away the farm. They tell you everything about the car, everything about your trade, everything about where they're located, what programs are going on, the pricing you could have. They don't collect first name, last name, phone number, email address, how they heard about me, or if I've ever even worked with another salesperson at the dealership before.
That's
to
just
me,
stupid.
if you can't do the basics, you can't be working
The
there.
problem is that you mystery shop and you know that, but dealers don't know that.
They
and
don't.
So the reality is they sincerely do not know how much they're missing.
Training.
And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the way to
Educating.
So let's give you guys some closing remarks here as we begin to wind it down. We'll start with you, Pete. We'll go backward. Give you closing remarks. Take a couple minutes and, just you can talk about something brand new that we haven't talked about here with regards to BDC. But go ahead and give us your closing remarks, and we'll go to Joshua Wright. And then Mitchell, we'll give you the closing on the panel. We'll give you the closing remark, and then Sarah can do it in person. So go ahead, Pete.
I really just wanted to kind of like reemphasize the training that Sarah was talking about. I mean, training is very, very, very important. And I just don't believe that we do it enough. And, it's like Phil Jackson didn't tell Michael Jordan, hey, games on Friday, sit at home, smoke cigars, so game day. I mean, the best of the best were always in training. So
That's right.
I make sure every morning that I'm pulling in, our veteran salesmen with our green salesmen.
Right.
And going over everything. That way we can do like some Q&A. I want to know what, instead of just teaching them, I want to know like how they're retaining the information that I'm giving them. make sure that, I'm asking a lot of questions and whatnot, and just taking care of them first and foremost, because in order to to get the customers in here, you need to take care of your team every single day, and, make them important. And then, just touching up, on the what Sarah mentioned earlier about taking care of customers. I don't care if you're a customer that's in New Orleans and you're on Car Gurus calling me on a '04 Toyota Tundra that I have them, on my lot.
Right.
I'm gonna pretend that that person is sitting right in front of me. I'm gonna bring that truck in the shop. I'm gonna get it up on a lift. I'm gonna take a video of that truck and send it to that, because that person is going to buy a vehicle, so it might as well be fun.
Right.
I think a lot of people just say, well, this guy's out of town. It doesn't matter, but those couple extra deals at the end of the month really matter.
Yeah.
I bought a house on FaceTime, for crying out loud. You're talking to the wrong person here. I bought my car 21 years ago from a dealership I refused to go into. So he brought the car to the bank for me. I refused. I wasn't going to walk in there as a 20-year-old female. Not going to happen.
Right.
And
I
all
want my
because
business, drive it down the street.
And he did it.
Park it in the parking lot. Let me drive it. Oh, by the way, I have a trade after I negotiate with you.
Josh, she's not the normal female, right? She just ate him for lunch. But hey, Josh Wright, Josh, he didn't know what he was bargaining with. Josh Wright, give us your closing remarks.
Just to wrap up, I mean, there's a lot of displaced talent out there, not just in the auto industry. This COVID thing is really shown the true colors of these businesses. If they're really going to take care of their employees, take advantage of it while you can. I mean, honestly, when I'm hiring for BDC, I don't even look at their resume. I literally, I mean, if they put any effort whatsoever, I send them the opportunity, and if they're willing to do the exercise and they have a good phone voice, then you're good enough to talk to. Those that are not going to do it, you never really had a good candidate to start with. So don't be afraid to look past a resume and really look at the person, because there's a lot of hidden talent out there if you're willing to give them a shot. And, some of those are the best people that you could possibly have on your squad. So,
nice,
absolutely.
man. Awesome. A sales manager, Allen Chevrolet, Cadillac. Thank you, Joshua. Josh Mitchell. Man, just give us some parting words of wisdom, my friend.
So I like what he said about doing voicemail, but I'm gonna flip something that I've done in the past and here recently is make them send you a video. Because first off, no one listens to voicemail, guys. So make them send you a video, because video is so important that for me, with my follow-up and what we do at the dealership, that make them send a video, because if they can do that, because that's uncomfortable and they're probably not used to it just yet. But if they can do that and bring some personality to it, now we're working with something. And also with guys like that are on the show today that have been in the BDC, that have been in the roles, you're going to see us coming out of this, becoming GSMs, becoming GMs. Yes. And that is when you're going to see real change in our industry, because we will be able to say, we've come through the internet department. We've come through how to do this. And the biggest problem that I have with a lot of sales managers out there is that they didn't come through the BDC. Yeah. They sometimes hate the BDC. And so there's all kinds of butting heads. And so when people like myself and the guys that are on here now have come through that, we're going to be the ones that are going to be able to implement the change to get the salespeople to elevate their game and really change our industry as a whole.
Nice.
Amen.
Well, thank you, Josh. And let's go to, can we get a shot of Sarah here? And we'll give her, thank you very much, Josh. Hey, Josh, by the way, can I get one of those BDC Raw hats, man? You got one of those hanging around anywhere?
That's
yes,
two.
You can,
two of those.
And a
we need two.
And a t-shirt.
A t-shirt. Send me one. I'm gonna put it right. Come on, man. I'll put it on my BDC lead BDC rep, and then we'll get some video of our BDC wearing it for you and stuff like that. So, but that's awesome. I love that hat. Good. I like the way it looks. So don't forget me, man. So Sarah, thank you guys for so much for hanging, Josh and Pete, and I thank you guys for coming on and taking time out of your schedule. I hope you guys have an incredible June. And I look forward to the second half of this year. I think it's going to be really big for the BDC. So thank you very much for joining us, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So we're going to get Sarah, I'm going to throw the camera to you and give you a chance to not only close it out with everything we've been talking about, to the audience, but make sure you let people know, if there's dealers watching right now, how they can get a hold of you, because I'm going to tell you, I know for a fact that there are dealerships right now that don't know what they're going to do, and and so there's so much opportunity for a company like yours, probably more than you can handle,
right
but,
now.
But go ahead and tell our audience, give us your closing remarks. And
you want me to tell them a little bit about my company, what
absolutely.
we do?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've been in business on my own for about 6 years. I really focus on BDC, internet sales, whatever you need, lead source management, trying to figure things out, and most importantly, is your CRM configured the way that it should be? Are you working for your CRM, or is it working for you? Is it cumbersome, or do you actually enjoy working with it? Do you need a virtual BDC? Do you not want to deal with employee turnover? Is it too much of a headache for you? But most importantly, if you're not going to do the training, if you're not going to focus on training and educating your people on how to be the best, because this tell me if I'm wrong here. Happy employees bring happy customers, make a happy dealership. And if you don't start with the first step, don't bother. Use me as a virtual BDC then.
How do they do that?
They can reach me.
Reach
me by Elite BDC.
What's your website?
I don't even have a website.
Your Facebook name?
Not yet. I'm Elite BDC or Sarah Hoagie, 585-329-0538.
Matthias, post her Facebook. I mean, I'll tag her in the comments as well.
I'm working on that website.
You're so busy. She's in dealerships, ladies and gentlemen. She's the person you want. Listen, you get all these companies that are sitting back, and you got her that you're gonna have to find her. She's gonna probably be talking to you at a dealership.
And I don't sugarcoat it. You don't hire me to say yes. Right. I'm not a yes person. So if you hire me, you're gonna hear exactly what I think, right, Brad? Right?
Brad Wise, yes, he likes that though. He doesn't like
just tell it like it is.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us, Sarah, and make sure you guys reach out to you. So listen, don't go anywhere, because listen, we've got a second half of the show. By the way, next week, Brett Oob. Brett owns 4 dealerships in Louisiana and Mississippi. He's a president of a dealer group there, and he's going to be flying in on his plane. He's got a jet. He just bought a new jet. He's flying in. He's going to start for the next couple of weeks. Going to be with us, co-hosting live right here. And so Brett's coming in as well, and you don't want to miss that. He's going to be. He's done some incredible things. He was on the show a couple weeks ago, but he's done some incredible things in maneuvering through this season. And they came out and had 2 record months. And he's in Louisiana, primarily a state that was shut down pretty hard. And so Brett's going to be with us. He's going to be sharing specifically how he feels we can move through the summer and get into a really big fall for the car dealership world. So he'll be with us next week. For sure, and possibly the following week as well. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We've got Cody Lowry joining us. You don't want to miss this. I promise you it's going to be entertaining, and you're going to learn some things. We'll be right back.
Bye, guys.
Hey, this is David Villa, the CEO here at IPD Agency. So dealers, look, I'm sitting outside of my office. I'm in my sales room. I'm going to ask our cameraman in a second to pan around, because I want to show you our BDC and give you a little glimpse of who's going to do the heavy lifting if you decide to partner with us on this program. What is this program? Our program over Facebook is a solution. In 25 years of doing automotive marketing, working with just thousands of dealerships, we've seen some very impressive results. I've never seen an ROI like this over the last couple of months especially, and we're doing it from coast to coast. We're killing it in California, we're killing it in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, states that are right now really clamped down and have some limitations, and of course we're doing it all over states ranging from Florida to the Midwest states. And I'm going to show you a little bit. As I'm sitting here, you're going to see a few leads just begin to pop up. And look, watch here, this is an example of leads that are popping in as we speak. This is for Randall Reed's Park Cities Ford. Again, I'm not really sure how fast the leads are going to come in. There's another one at Walters Toyota in Kentucky. There's Campbell, sent a message, Ford of West Memphis. There's Mr. Gonzalez, Leo Cates, Ford. They're actually in New York right now. This is their second time doing it. Premier Chevy, they're in California. These are happening as we speak. Another one, Joanne, Randall Reed's Park City Ford in Dallas, Texas. I think 3 would be best. Joanne, we happen to agree with you. 3 o'clock's perfect. And these are leads that are going into our BDC. Look, if you're looking for a way to move the needle in a digital way, but it's more of a traditional digital, meaning if you like direct mail or if you like things that have an ROI that you can track, this is perfect, because we're actually seeing the responses coming in. We do all the heavy lifting. I'm going to spin around here, and to see if we can actually catch. This is the BDC right here. Look, if you just notice here, we're in a 13,000 square foot office, and we're going to help you partner and sell vehicles in an unprecedented way. We can start pretty quick as long as we have a slot available, because when it gets full in a week, we just move to the next week. So we are setting up accounts for June. It's a 7-day campaign, and dial the number on the screen, and one of these guys right here will help you.
All right, we're back. We are back.
We are back.
Man, I tell you what, I'm so looking forward to this interview, and you're going to understand why in just a minute. So somebody that I've known for, actually I haven't known you like I've known you in the last couple weeks, but I've known you via email and phone, and my father is really good friends with you for a long, long time. And but what a story you're going to get to learn. And the only bad thing is you're not going to be able to hear it all in 20 minutes or so, but you're going to get the flavor of this. And I am privileged to have with me here, he's an author. By the way, if I read his bio, it would be this big. So I'm going to say he's an author. He's a best-selling author, and he's a speaker, and probably one of the best speakers. He'll keep your attention like no one's business. Matter of fact, I just saw a clip recently where you were speaking at the NADA or the 20 group for a big group, and man, you had those guys just rolling, Cody. And then, of course, he's the president of Intermark Automotive Advertising, and sold Dynamedia, a company, to Intermark, and just has been in this industry for a long, long time. But we're here to talk about your stories, but also to talk about a book that is coming out, and you can get it today. And I think we have some special things. If you buy and pre-order a book today, please correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to get a signed copy as well, correct?
Yes, but it's for a limited time only.
Limited time only. Okay, so here's what we need you to do. It's the honor system. So if you do this while we're on the phone, we're going to post the link in the feed on Facebook. Sorry if you're watching this on other feeds. So you're just going to have to get the information here, and then you're going to click on that and buy it, and you have to screenshot and post it back that you purchase it, and then we're going to get you a signed copy. He's got a limited amount, but the book is called Schmooze. It's hard for me to say that.
It's called Schmooze, what they should teach at Harvard Business School.
What's that?
Schmooze, what they should teach at Harvard Business School.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, because
Why should they teach it?
They should absolutely teach Schmooze. And
right.
First and foremost, I just want to let your audience know that I am an automotive guy, and I've spent my life in automotive and got out of college, and you know, like most of you out there, you didn't get out of college or high school and say, "Oh,
I didn't get out of college.
Car business."
I didn't make it out. They kicked me out before I got out.
They did. That doesn't surprise me. Really.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. So no, but I mean, we all had a different way we got into the car business, and then once we got in, I mean, we're in, right? I mean, we never get out. So
why is that?
Well, it just is. It just consumes you. I didn't, it's a crazy story, and I know everybody out there that's watching has got a story of their own, and it's worth telling.
Well,
and
I want to interrupt you, Cody, because I got to say something. I don't want to get these wrong, so I wrote these down. Right.
Right.
Listen, you guys think this is real, right? I'm about to tell you right here, but this is what schmooze is about, and I can't say that word. Every time I say it, like I have to I pucker when I say it. So you got to get it. Listen, it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. We're going to put the Amazon link here, but listen to this, okay? So Cody is a phenomenal, one of the best salespeople I've ever met in my life, okay? And first of all, if you sell dealers, if he sells you guys, you know that he's a good salesperson because you're probably the hardest thing to sell that walks.
Absolutely.
So, but listen to this. These are some of the things that he's done, and he talks about in the book, and these are real stories. But let me tell you this. So Cody has set up a meeting with the President of the United States, Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter. My name is Jimmy Carter. Always tell the truth. If I will tell a lie, I grow another tooth. Yeah, it was Jimmy Carter.
Right? And so, listen, I'm talking set an appointment. Listen, you don't just get an appointment with the president. So I think some of these things,
set it
Cody,
up in 1 week.
In 1 week.
Yeah. Yep.
My gracious. So I think some of these things, knowing you, and I'm going to read these,
yep.
But knowing you, I think some of them must have been on a dare. You must have started challenging yourself. It had to be, right?
Well, it's all a challenge. You sit in a room, you come up with an idea, and everybody kind of laughs at you. You go, you know what? I'm going to charge in that direction, see what happens, and lo and behold, things happen.
Things happen. Listen to this, guys. All right, and listen. He auditioned for Saturday Night Live. He got it.
Saturday Night Live. I was there.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, gifted a Super Bowl ring from one of NFL's Hall of Fame coaches.
That's right. That's right.
Carried the torch in the Olympic torch relay.
Yeah.
Come on, how
that
many?
was in it.
and you were kidding. Listen to this. This is now you got to be kidding me on this. This guy, this blows me away. Got a baseball signed by the Pope that sits in Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame. The
That's
Pope
right.
doesn't sign nothing. All right,
No, in fact, it was actually for Sparky Anderson, and there's a long story that goes behind this. But I was in a meeting, and I said that Sparky was our honorary chairman of a golf tournament. We wanted to give him something, and the Irish priest said, "Well, how about some crystal, some Irish crystal, Waterford?" And I said, he's got enough Waterford. Let's do something really different. So my idea was to turn the tables on Sparky Anderson and get him a baseball signed by the Pope. He was a devout Catholic, went to Mass every day at St. Joe's. And so when I mentioned that, they all looked at me like I was crazy. And I walked out of the meeting and charged. And I sent a ball along with a little felt pen and, my story and how much Sparky had given, to our foundation. And about 3 weeks later, ladies and gentlemen, I got a letter back from one of the Pope's assistants, and he said, "The Pope doesn't do baseballs." But then right on the heels of that, our Bishop Dorsey, he was heading to Rome, and he called Monsignor Caulfield, and he said, "Tell Cody to get me that ball." And he got over there, and he had a meeting with the Pope, Pope John, and the Pope said, "What does Sparky mean?" And they told him what Sparky meant, that it was a nickname, and sure enough, he signed it. And then Monsignor Caulfield calls me. He says, "Cody," he says, "we got the ball." He said, "Let's have dinner with Sparky." And I said, "Listen, this is bigger than that."
Right.
So what we did is we had a little party for about 500 people, and it was for the foundation, and we raised about, I don't know, $30,000 at the time, but it coincided with Sparky's 60th birthday. We had Tommy Lasorda come in. He was the MC, and we gave him that ball, and as you rightly point out, it sits at Cooperstown.
Wow, man.
Yep.
So I mean, that to me is what the book's about. So I mean, if I'm going to put this, and that's obviously layman's terms, I mean schmooze, but if I'm going to say why do we need to understand and read this, Cody, is because listen, you can pretty much accomplish anything you put your mind to. Is what I get out of this, and so you're a car guy, been in the business. You serviced, and your agency, and even the one that you sold, hundreds of dealerships across the nation, some of the biggest and best. And so, you talk about in one of the chapters in the book, you get into how you got into the car business. What's the chapter called?
It's called chutzpah.
Okay.
Chutzpah, another Yiddish word.
Right.
Yeah. And
so the car business, man, I mean, it's a crazy business. You mentioned we don't get out of it. And the reality is I'm going to flip that. I don't think you want to get out of it. It's an industry that is rewarding and challenging, and it's just some interesting people. I mean, how has it changed, in your opinion, since you
So to your point, yeah, the industry obviously has changed. We're living in a digital world right now. We've just gone through a period where we're all doing, jumping through hoops and delivering from home and taking test drives at home and all those kinds of things. But some things just never change, and the basics don't change. And I know that the dealers and managers out there that are listening today, there's a phenomena around this country that happens every month. There's a new salesperson who's never sold a car, who's brand new, and they end up being salesman of the month. Well, that's been happening for the last 30 years, and it'll happen in the next 30 years. And there's certain things that, and I do a meeting around green peas.
Right.
What are the common denominators? What do they all do differently? And the basics are really the same today.
Yeah, they really are. And so, today you mentioned that there's a lot of things going on differently, and but the car business is always adapted, right? It's always adapted. And so, this book, I think, though, hits on a timeless truth that we sometimes, I think, have forgotten. So even though the business has changed, sometimes I think we have also changed, in not always in a good way. Let me explain.
Right.
Like, I think that we've left sometimes our salesmanship, our salesmanship behind. We forget that whether you do this thing online, whether you do it in person, whether somebody says, "Oh, the road to the sale's dead," or whether you've done that, and you were an old F&I manager and you did a lot of things on the blacktop. But my question to you is this: whether you do it, this way or that way, doesn't it come down to people skills and salesmanship?
It's all people, and what we represent dealerships, and I know I'm speaking to a group out here that could say the same thing about their stores. People make the difference, and if you're gonna if you're going to succeed and beat the guy down the street, then you have to have the right people and you have to train them right. And I think Sarah's point about having a BDC, I was at a store about a year and a half ago, and the dealer met with me, and he said, my general manager, he's kind of, he's balking me on this whole BDC deal, and he says, I want you to get with him and see if we can't convince him. I did not convince him. And I don't know why people don't want to pursue every possible avenue to close people, because as your prior guest just said, I mean, if we don't sell them today, somebody else is selling them.
Yeah.
And
well,
so.
Yeah, and as a marketer as well, you forget sometimes how these things are so connected, and the reality is you're a lead guy. I mean, you're a marketing guy, so leads are something, whether no matter what way they've been delivered. We've watched leads get squandered, customers get squandered. Let's not use the word lead. Let's use customers. Customers get squandered, and today, looking at it, it's more important today than ever, because they will get squandered before you even possibly know they existed.
You know what's really sad is that we know that 92% of every person that walks into that showroom is going to buy a vehicle in the next 2 weeks, and guess what? We don't close 92% of them, do we? So
wow, that's good stuff. Let me ask you this. I mean, kind of a final question here, then, but I also want you to talk a little bit about at the end. I want to make sure we emphasize where they can get, and I want to put a charge out there. I want you guys to help me out. I want my audience to help me out. I want us to order this book. Right, again, limited time only. If you're listening, if you order it, and
we sound like hucksters, don't we?
No.
For a limited time only, friends. Yeah.
But listen, I'm gonna tell you, you just need the book, man. It's cool. It's the other side of the pillow, and I know Cody, and I just, that's the reason I'm really excited about it. But listen, final question here, right? This one's controversial. You live in Tampa, right? And so many people that are watching right now, we had they've come down to Tampa for Digital Dealers, been here a few times. We had a bunch of dealers down here for Culture Matters in our office. We took them to the Columbia restaurant. We took them,
Big shot.
Yeah. We just said, well, you just got to treat them like Tampa, Tampa style. But controversial, man. This is it. You've lived in Tampa for some time, so I'm sure you have an answer. Where can somebody get the best Cuban sandwich? Because that was invented here, right?
Right.
In Tampa.
Yeah, at my house.
All right.
It's great. My wife does a great job, and
right.
It's expensive, but best Cuban sandwich.
Best Cuban sandwich. Wow, man.
Maybe the Columbia restaurant.
So are you inviting everybody
Maybe
over?
The Columbia restaurant.
Columbia is pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
It's very good.
Well, I lied. So listen, the most challenging part of your current role. I said that was the last question, but I'm going to throw one more.
I would say, there's nothing casual about writing a book, and I thought about maybe, self-publishing, and then I decided to go in this other direction, and I ended up with one of the top agents in the country. She does Joel Osteen and Tony Robbins and what have you. So they signed me, and all of a sudden I had a book deal. But I'm
that should be on
something.
this list right here.
Yeah,
right. I mean, that's another example. The list is endless.
Yeah,
you hear that? Joel Osteen and Tony Robbins.
I had to use the schmooze there for sure to get them to listen to me. But there's nothing casual about writing a book. I'm running an advertising agency, and then at night and weekends I'm writing it, and then it finally gets written. And when you go traditional, the manuscript I turned in October 15th, and July 21st is when the book's going to come out. So they don't move at the pace that we automotive people move, and sometimes I wonder why.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, I don't think many people do. So, well, I tell you what, man, it's been exciting talking to you. I've talked to you so much here in the last couple of weeks, and I'd like to have you back on, especially even as the book gets closer to coming out. So listen, do me a favor, folks. The Amazon link is on this comments right here. If you're listening to this or watching it on another platform, you can search the book Cody Lowry, and we're going to go. If you're okay with it, can we tag your Facebook on the Facebook?
Oh no, that would be terrible.
It'd be terrible. Okay.
No, please do. Yeah.
Cody Cody Lowry Lowry, and you can find his book in many more places anywhere books are sold. And make sure you get yourself a copy. And if you are one of the limited amount, so I guess just a handful here. If you buy this book today, for everyone that does, for a limited amount, we're going to give you
a signed autograph copy will be sent to your house.
Come on now, that's what I'm talking about. And I want to get one. I'll make sure I'm going to go buy a few of them right when we leave here. So I want to get a signed copy myself for my shelf.
Well, I want to thank your audience.
Hey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah Hoagie. I want to thank Josh Mitchell. I want to thank Joshua Wright, Pete Marshall, and the one and only Cody Lowry. And hey, we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget that Brett Oob He's the president of Lakeside Ford, Winnesboro Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Ville Platte Chrysler, Natchez Toyota. He's going to be with us next week in person, and we're going to have some great guests on as well. So we will see you guys then. Thank you very much.